Well, let's have conversation around this morning with Surinder Singh, who is editor-at-large for Greater Kashmir, joins us from New Delhi, as well as Franklin Omene, who is CEO of Efan Energy Limited and chairman of Omene Holdings, also based in Dubai. Thank you for joining us this morning, you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Mr. Singh, let me begin with you. Let's start with perspectives that people need to understand. You put up an article recently about this. Give us a perspective. What is it that you think people need to understand about this whole conversation that may be missing? Mr. Surinder Singh, that's for you.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Great. Yeah, you see, it's exactly 2 weeks now that the situation has become very tense, and every passing day we see that people do not understand, especially those who are expats. Now, if you look into the structure of the Gulf countries, uh, in majority of those countries, you have got expats who have been living there and in a very safe atmosphere. In fact, many of the people had shifted their offices, rather their next home was more or less like Dubai or many Qatar or other places where they were feeling not only comfortable with their jobs but also with the atmosphere, security, not much of the crime, and the best thing was the saving of money which they were having. Having said that, but now you look, I mean, I'm sitting here in Delhi and there are 9.1 billion Indians who have been living in all these Gulf countries and doing all sort of jobs from the high top white blue collar jobs like drivers working in the hospitals, entertainment industry, as well as tourism. Now all that is getting affected, massively affected. And India, I think, is getting one of the highest remittance. And this is what I had written in the article also about 50 billion dollars which India receives from the people who send their money back into their home. And their homes run literally because of that money. Now, that is where they are feeling a little on an edge. They feel most of the people they are walking on a razor's edge. And tomorrow, if something bad happens, some factories are closed, some tourism is closed, people do not start visiting these countries. They are massively going to be affected, and they are not sure. Many of them don't even want to return to India, despite that they want to live in a conflict area where they are feeling a little safe. But the second thing which they are looking for their own security, job security, which is there. So my concern was that it's a reverse migration, what's happening. Earlier, it was like an economic migration where people had gone to earn money. They have spent a huge amount of money. And now once they come back, as we do, we are not still sure how long this conflict is going to go on. Like even as we are talking, there are orders being issued by Israelis against Iranians right now to vacate some of the Western areas. In fact, yesterday, the Trump said that they have already taken care of one of the islands, which has got 90% of these oil reserves and helps Iran to send and transport their oil. So
Okay.
all this situation, things are becoming a little tingy for diaspora, I would say.
Absolutely concerning. And we were actually hoping that the Nigeria's chairman and CEO of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission would also join us. Hopefully she still will. We're preparing for that visit of the president to the UK. In the meantime, Mr. Omene, let's come to you. You reside in Dubai, and the concern of Mr. Surinder Singh Oberoi is it seems like the expatriates such as yourself are significantly affected by this, especially given that the economy in the country or in the environment where you are largely depends on expatriates. What are your thoughts, concerns, fears, and aspirations?
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you on this call. Yes, it's rather unfortunate because for us here, this is a very necessary war that could be avoided. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in this situation in this beautiful country. Kudos to the leaders of this country; they've done a lot. I look at Dubai, look at UAE as similar to Nigeria in sense of resilience. It's a very resilient country and always innovative. It's the hub, it's a commercial hub. And I believe, all said and done, it will bounce back. There is a big effect on tourism, of course. The hotels, you could tell from the traffic on the streets, just like you said, it feels like a COVID all over again. But life here is going as, I'm not going to say as normal, but yes, people are going about their business. And we can feel the impact right now in the grocery stores, in our vegetables, because most of our everything is imported pretty much into the UAE. So that is definitely going to affect the lifestyle. And from the reports we're getting, I think with the food stock that is available here, we're looking at probably another couple of weeks to a month before it starts getting really bad. Um, we're hoping that they will find a resolve to all of this. Like I said, it's an unnecessary war, and our neighbors are not very neighbors in terms of the other Gulf countries. I hear are in talks to see how they can dialogue and get this sorted. Oman is spearheading this, which we're hoping that it wouldn't be as the last Iraq-Kuwaiti war. I was here right after that war, and we understood the adverse effect after that. Um, Basically, for me, it's a tough one, but I
Right.
think we'll get past it.
Right, and I'll stay with you, Mr. Domine. One of the countries that took a hit as a result of this war. We heard there were strikes on, infrastructure in Dubai. Um, how was it, during those days when the the strikes happened? What was your concern, as with concerns of other Nigerians in Dubai at that time?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we had great concerns because we were a few of us are fortunate. I live too close, not too far from the airport. There's a few strikes at the airport. The good thing is this country has invested so much in their air defenses. And what has made it true are just probably a few drones and more of the damages or more of debris. So we are not just in terms of security, safety. Yeah, so they pride themselves with that, and now is the time to test all that. So basically, it's not as bad. Yes, if we have the notices. You get notice on your phone from time to time to say, there's a possible threat of a missile. So please take cover and just to be cautious. But all in all, I think everybody's going about the business. There is a bit of fear, there is a bit of nervousness, which is normal. But other than that, I think we're getting used to it. It's not good to stay used to it, but you don't get used to war. But yeah, after the first few days, everybody just started going about their business.
Right. We're still hoping to have Honorable Abike Dabrirewa, Chairman of CEO of the Nigerian in Diaspora Commission, to join us. But because you are a Nigerian in diaspora, I will ask you this question before we get back to Mr. Surinder. Nigeria has begun the evacuation of Nigerians from Iran because of this war. Your thoughts on that? It's happening now. Before, everybody was asking that question, when are they going to get Nigerians out, as other countries were, doing that from countries in the Middle East back home, at least till this war ends. So, your thoughts on, this engagement between Nigeria and those in diaspora, especially in Iran?
Honestly, I think it's necessary, mostly for those that are willing to head back home. It is necessary. Iran, I've been fortunate to be in Iran a couple of times. Yes, so it will be a good move. A few of the other countries have done that. as opposed to the UAE, which is relatively safer. Iran, as we speak, is being bombarded, and Nigerians are pretty much, we've got a large population in Nigeria. I'm not sure the number, but yes, there is a large population of Nigerians in Iran. So yes, it's a necessary action that needs to be taken and coordinated, of course, by the consulate and the embassy in Iran. So yes, it's a welcome initiative.
We'll speak to the values and virtues of that conflict itself some other time, but let me come back to you, Surinder Singh Oberoi. The Gulf states adopted a business model that is attractive to many expatriates. And, you know, I'm from different parts of the world. You just heard a Nigerian, Franklin Omene, you know, speaking to how life is there and all of that. But needless to say, given how this COVID-19 vibe is playing out right now at his location in Dubai, and according to him, perhaps largely in the UAE, how do you see the Gulf states surviving this period, particularly economically, given the economic model that they have adopted? Because if countries have to decide and say all our nationals should come home, then what happens to the UAE based on its economic model?
Yes, you see, despite country which is in the maximum progressive way, having massive global scale economy as well as opportunities for employees, the biggest fear with developed countries like Dubai and UAE and other places, Abu Dhabi, even Qatar, I would say, 80% of population is expat.
Wow.
And if they leave the place, it's going to create a big, I shouldn't say gap, but a cavity. And to cover that cavity, it will require time. You see, I'm sure it's going to bounce back. Right now, I mean, if the things go, or if there is a ceasefire soon, things will immediately go into a normal way. But if it's linger on, most of the people are worried. For example, Indians who are now living in these Gulf countries, their families literally want them back. And once they are back, it will be again difficult for them to go there or getting a new job sort of a thing. I agree as far as locals are concerned who have not literally become dependent on the expats, especially for all the major works like plumbing, washing, cleaning, and other things. It will become very difficult for them to look into the new way of bringing their economy back into the saddles. One thing is sure, it's an oil economy. It will come back in a big way, even though huge amount of it might have been spent. But it's already like if you look into the sovereign wealth, it's 2.5 plus trillion sort of a thing, which is through the oil. But equal amount is now being looked through other industries also, where they have been non-oil trade, I would say, which is also giving an equal sort of an opportunity. So exports will be affected. The tourism industry will be massively affected. And to bounce it back, it's like both sides are going to affect for no fault of them. As our colleague was mentioning about that, it's a forced conflict. It's a manufactured conflict which is there, where they are not responsible for it, but they are suffering. It's like two elephants are fighting and the grass is getting trampled. And that is exactly what has happened to the expats who are already out of their homes, and their families are worried, and they themselves are worried about their job. The situation is in a catch 22 situation, sort of a thing. It will be difficult for them to re-establish if it lingers on.
Well, Mr. Wene, I'll come to you, you know, perhaps your own take on that as well. The hospitality sector is gravely affected. Restauranting and the rest of it, the tourism atmosphere is also affected. aviation significantly affected and all of that. And going by what you've heard Mr. Surinder Oberoi say, should there be a need for you and other expatriates in the UAE to leave? According to him, more than 80% of the people living in the UAE would have to evacuate. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see any remote chance of that ever happening?
Yes, Mr. Singh is very correct. This economy is built solely dependent on expats. And a lot of the workforce, from the white collar to the blue collar, are more expats. And we are seeing the impact right now as we speak. It's not even just barely 2 weeks into the war. We are already feeling the impact. Tourism, yes, the hotels are right now 10% occupancy. It used to be 80%, 85%, but right now it's 10%. A friend of mine rents a two-bedroom hotel apartment where he used to pay $270,000, and he was to renew his contract, and it was offered 100,000. So it was just slashed 170 up. So that is a big cut. On aviation, yes, it's a big hit. Emirates is, I just got off a call from a friend in South Africa. He used to go to Taipei for the AI Smart City Summit. They've had booked on Emirates. They had to cancel that flight now to go to alternative routes. So these are definitely effects that is going to show physically in the economy today. Basically, myself, I went shopping a week ago. A basket of tomatoes that we buy at 20 dirhams, it's 45 dirhams. And so these are things that, of course, collateral damage. For us as a diaspora living here, a lot of the European communities have, I would say probably 40% have already left, if not probably just being conservative. So with that in mind, you can see there's a big hollow, and it will take some time. This is like the story of the 2008 bubble when the real estate, it happened. It took a while to regain the market confidence, to bring people back into the space. So I see that's going to be a tough one for the Middle East, for UAE, mainly Dubai. It also opens up opportunities for some of our diasporas who are resilient and are willing to come in at such instances, because mostly as a Nigerian, we feel a unique space here in this country that is heavily dependent on tourism, just like the Kenyans, South Africans. So that is going to be a big challenge. We don't know if companies are going to start downsizing, but if this war lingers, that is a possibility of that happening. We've got friends who are already selling out their companies just to exit. So that is, again, collateral damage. We hope that there could be a quick resolve to this. Otherwise, it's not sustainable for another 30 days. It's not.
Okay. Well, Mr. Surinder Oberoi, I'll come back to you again on this. My question is a bit tends towards the diplomatic end a bit. Nigerians, Indians, Americans, Israelis, they live in and work in the UAE. That is now, if I'm going to use the words of Mr. Omene, suffering from the collateral damage of the war they didn't cause, but that is foisted on them. Do you see any remote chance that the expatriates themselves can influence anything that can put an end to this carnage happening on them?
See, where there is a will, there is a way. But the important thing is, first of all, let me tell you, the ripple effect is not only in the UAE, Dubai, or other places. It's now across the globe. For example, in Delhi, there's a complete shortage of LPG, where government has ordered for an emergency law to be put up so that people do not do hoarding and other things. I mean, we can come separately on this issue, that how rest of the world is suffering, as well as there is a massive panic among gas buying, petrol buying, and other things. But as your question, now I come back to your question. You see, international community can do wonders, but if they don't take sides, if I am a little diplomatic in your answers also. What I mean to say is there was a structure which was built up after Second World War. There were some international organizations which were supposed to work in a neutral way. And believe me, I was thinking that now Qatar was also becoming more or less like as a neutral state where they had been bringing solutions to the old problems. For example, Taliban had an office when it was banned and sanctions were there, again by US, but they had an office in Qatar. And finally, all negotiations were taking place there and results were there. Similarly, when Hamas and Israelis were fighting against each other, again the massive uh, diplomatic efforts were taken by Qatar, and I did an article also at that time saying that Qatar is finally turning into a new Geneva, like it was literally becoming nearer to the Asian countries as far as the neutrality is concerned, and even the current phase also. Oman as well as Qatar were negotiating. But look into the role of international organizations. I think they are not doing their job what they should have been given. For example, if migration is taking place, we do have uh, IMO meant for the migrants, but we don't have any law for the reverse migrants. Now, people who had gone to uh, earn money, and if they come back to their own respective countries, shouldn't there be some law to help them, to support them? Or organizations like United Nations, they literally need to pass out some orders. They have their own military, they have their international peace forces. They can bring in, ask all the actors to act properly. But I think their role has been diminished. And maybe because of the years of not being used properly. Or not only that, even there are organizations like UNHCR for the refugee status and other things. So if they start working in a proper way as far as the international organizations are concerned, and then negotiate properly without bias, things can become a little
And
better.
that's a significant point that you have raised there, Mr. Singh Oberoi. But let me ask Mr. Mene that question as well. But this time, here is yours. He has said that there is a likelihood, in fact, it is practical, it is happening already. The war in Iran, or rather war on Iran, is affecting the whole world. Different parts of the world are feeling the pinch one way or the other. But he has also spoken to what he calls reverse policy for reverse migrants. You know, should there be a situation where the foreign nationals in the UAE have to return home? There should be a kind of policy for them and all of that. God forbid, but just in case, what are your thoughts?
Um, it's definitely a good thing to know that you're returning back from, for lack of a better word, a war zone, and you've left much all what you worked for a good part of your life. And it would be nice to come home to some little incentive from the state. Having said that, basically, what I think the same thing happened during the Ukrainian war. A few of I speak for Nigeria as a Nigerian. I know a few people who came back and they were. I mean, the diaspora did well. I mean, I give it to Honorable Bikadabri. I mean, they did as much as the country could do in terms of giving them a warm reception. And I think the first few days or weeks was taken care of. At this point, it's still early days. It's war, this conflict. Economically, it's definitely is going to be. Right now, we're feeling the impact. Bear in mind, this the Strait of Hormuz is a canal, a channel that we're talking about. It's not looked at food security. So fertilizer that comes out of Qatar, they all go through that strait, and very soon it's going to be planting season. If it's not already planting season in some other part of the world, um, this region supplies close to 30 to 40% of the world fertilizer. Dangote, yes, we're doing quite a bit in Nigeria, but with our population going over 250 million, I don't think Dangote will be enough to cater for that need. Yes, we encourage the countries to see how to support the returning diaspora, community. I think the UK is offering something. I know of a few countries that are offering some sort of incentive for them to start up all over again. And the good thing with the UAE, like I said, they will bounce back. It will take some time, but they also have a way of absorbing and attracting people to come back, either with the new 10 years visa. There's always some, and all we pray for is for the war, the short-term war, this conflict. And, that way, we do not. I mean, India, for example, takes 80% of their LPG from Iran. That's a big number for a population like India. It's going to hit it. It's going to be a tough one. Thailand has already started rationing their consumption of this. So all of this conflict is beyond the Middle East, beyond the Gulf. We don't know right now. We can't say who's losing, but it's not about winning or losing right now. There's a lot of people that this war has affected, and it's only been just 10 days or barely 2 into this conflict. It's going to get worse if all lingers. So I think diaspora, just like your question, to answer your question, yes, there is a role that the international community can play, mostly diaspora, with negotiations, just like India has done. India has visited Israel. Modi visited Israel, and all these talks are to see how they can cushion this effect, because end of the day, we know how much Nigerian diaspora brings into the country. So all that has effect. So I think we need to look inward and really, really take the bull by the horn and sit the two gladiators down and get a resolve to this.
Well, I'm waiting for that sit down.
Certainly.
And I really don't want to be in the room. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Franklin Omene, CEO Efang Energy Limited HK and Chairman of Omene Holdings in Dubai. We also appreciate your time and your thoughts this morning, Surinder Oberoi, Editor-at-Large for the Greater Kashmir, joined us from New Delhi. Thank you so much and all the best.
Can I add just one thing? I just had one closing.
Yes, please.
Now, we need to look at, this conflict from a different perspective. From an African proverb, you say a man that is already sitting on the ground is not afraid to fall. So you look at Iran. I mean, they've been through this for 40 years. Look at the UAE, the Gulf. They're just standing. They're barely trying to stand. But Iran has been sitting for all this while. So they're not afraid to fall. So I think it's in the interest of everybody, get them to the table and really, really resolve this issue. Otherwise, it's not going to be enough for the region.
We're hoping again that, as you said, the conversation will happen for them to resolve it in a way that the world is happy with at the end of the day. Thank you.